My name is Meara McTague, and tonight on Literary Music Series, I will be telling you about early English Scots Irish folk ballads and how the stories and melodies of this tradition are connected to poetry and literature. Thank you so much to Natalie and the Literary Music Series for allowing me to be a part of this. I just think it's really cool that you're giving musicians an opportunity to connect their art and their storytelling with other art forms, and that's just a really innovative idea, so thank you. The traditional definition of a ballad is basically a song that tells a story, and these ballads are really such an interesting way to connect with the past. They can tell us so much about people who lived long ago and what kind of stories were perpetuated through time. And I just think it's interesting that they can be connected to the literature and poetry of the era as well. So I want to begin by telling you about Francis James Child, who was a prominent folklorist, musicologist, and professor in the mid-1800s. He discovered, archived, and preserved hundreds of early English, Scottish, and Irish ballads and poems, publishing them. And the ballads that he did publish are known nowadays as the Child Ballads. Because he was one of the first scholars in the 19th century to really focus on the literary aspect of these ballads and preserving them on paper. So these old ballads have been passed from person to person for literally centuries, and through the process of oral transmission, they've evolved over the years. So there are just dozens of different versions of some of the more popular ballads that we can find in archives, and really by asking folks to sing their own versions, there will always be little differences. So in this way, the songs really tell a lot about the storyteller, and they continue to change and evolve even after different versions are preserved and published. So I wanted to sing an example of a child ballad for you called Tam Lin, which was found, preserved, and published by Child. It's called Child Ballad number 39, it's also known as. It's a ballad of magic and fairies, in which a young woman named Janet wanders into the Scottish forest of Carter Hall and encounters a man who was enchanted by the Queen of Fairies, Tam Lin. And a fun little fact, I named my cat after this ballad because it's just such a beautiful story. Janet sits in a lonely bed, sewing a silken seam, looking out on Carter Hall among the roses green. And Janet sits in a lonely room, sewing a silken thread, longs to be in Carter Hall among the roses red. She's let the seam fall at her heel, the needle to her toe, and she has gone to Carter Hall as fast as she can go. She hadn't pulled a rose, but only one. Then appeared a young Tam Lin, says, "Lady, let alone. What makes you pull the rose, the rose? What makes you break the tree? What makes you come to Carter Hall without the leave of me?" But Carter Hall is not your own. Roses there are many. I'll come and go all as I please, and not ask leave of any. And he has took her by the hand, took her by the sleeve, and he has laid this lady down among the roses green, and he has took her by the arm, took her by the hand. He has laid this lady down among the roses red. Says he, I was a little lad, my uncle sent for me to hunt and hawk and ride with him and keep him company. There came a wind out of the north, a sharp wind and a snell. Did sleep did come over me, and from my horse I fell. The queen of fairies, she was there, the fairy court did ride. Among the throng of fair folk, she took me to her bride. There's 24 ladies fair, sewing at the silk. Janet goes among them all, her face as pale as milk, and 24 gentlemen playing at the chess. Janet goes among them all, as green as any glass. Then up and spoke a father, he spoke in meek and mild. Oh, alas, my daughter, I fear you go with child. And is it to a man of might, or to a man of means, or who among my gentlemen will give the baby's name? Oh, father, if I go with child, this much to you I'll tell, there's none among your gentlemen that I would treat so well. And father, if I go with child, I must bear the blame, there's none among your gentlemen will give the babe his name. Janet's gone. Janet's kilted a green kirtle, a little upon her knee, and she is away to Carter Hall as fast as she can flee. And she is down among the weeds, down among the thorns, and then appeared Tam Lin again. Says Lady Polmore, what makes you pull the poison rose? What makes you break the tree? What makes you harm the little babe that I have got with thee? Oh, I will pull the rose, Tam Lin, I will break the tree, but I'll not bear the little babe that I have got with thee. If he were to a gentleman and not a wild shade, I'd rock him all the winter's nights and all the summer's days. Then take me back into your arms, if you my love would win, and hold me tight and fear me not. I'll be a gentleman, but first I'll change all in your arms into a wild wolf, but hold me tight and fear me not. I am your own true love, and then I'll change all in your arms into a wild bear, but hold me tight and fear me not. I am your husband dear, and then I'll change all in your arms into a lion bold, but hold me tight and fear me not, and you will love your child. First he changed all in her arms into a wild wolf. She held him tight and feared him not. He was her own true love. And then he changed all in her arms into a wild bear. She held him tight and feared him not. He was her husband dear. And then he changed all in her arms into a lion bold. She held him tight and feared him not, the father of her child. And then he changed all in her arms into a naked man. She's wrapped him in a cloak so warm, and she has brought him home. I just love these old ballads. I've dug through so many books about early ballads of the British Isles, and one of the most interesting things I found was a connection between balladry and the well-known poem by W.B. Yeats, Down by the Sally Gardens. So you may also know this poem as a song. I know I also knew it as a song, but the strange thing is that this poem has been derived from a song already, which I thought was just so funny, like everything's so connected. But Yeats admitted that his poem was an attempt to reconstruct an old song that he had heard being sung by an old peasant woman in County Sligo. So scholars believe that the ballad he heard was probably Rambling Boys of Pleasure, which has a strikingly similar verse to one of the verses in Sally Gardens. So I will read Yeats' poem Down by the Sally Gardens for you. Down by the Sally Gardens, my love and I did meet. She passed the Sally Gardens with little snow-white feet. She bid me take love easy as the leaves grow on the tree, but I, being young and foolish, with her would not agree. In a field down by the river, my love and I did stand, and on my leaning shoulder she laid her snow-white hand. She bid me take life easy as the grass grows on the weirs, but I, being young and foolish, now am full of tears. And the verse from Rambling Boys of Pleasure rings very similarly to Sally Gardens. But I'll sing the whole ballad, and while I do, try to listen for that connection to Sally Gardens, because you'll probably hear it. Move this capo down. I cast my mind on a handsome girl who oftentimes she does me slight. My mind is never easy, except when my true love is in my sight. Down by on flowery gardens, where me and my true love do meet, I took her in my arms, and unto her gave kisses sweet. She bade me take love easy, just as the leaves fall from the tree. But I, being young and foolish, with my own true love I could not agree. And the second time I met my love, I thought that her heart was surely be mine. But as the season changes, my darling girl has changed her mind. Gold is the root of evil, although it bears a glistening hue. Causes many the lad and the last to part, though their hearts like mine be e'er so true. And I wish I was in Belfast town, and my own true love alongside with me, and money in my pockets to keep us in good company. Liquor to be plenty, a flowing glass on every side. Hard fortune would ne'er daunt me, for I am young, and the world is wide. So, you may have heard how the similarity between that song and the Sally Garden. So another ballad which can be connected to the poem Sally Gardens and also the ballad Rambling Boys of Pleasure is Down in the Willow Garden, which was found in the Appalachian Mountains by musicologists Olive Dame Campbell and Cecil Sharp. So Down in the Willow Garden is also known as Rose Connolly, a ballad sung to the familiar Irish melody Rosin the Bow, which you might have also heard. The words in the first verse also have a really strong similarity to Sally Gardens, although the story devolves into something different, something more tragic than the Sally Gardens. So I'm actually going to switch banjos for this one. They have slightly different tones, the two banjos. Alright. So here is Down in the Willow Garden. This one was recorded by the Everly Brothers, who are just wonderful, like old-timey country singers. Also the Causeway Sisters here. Down in the willow garden, where me and my true love did meet, as we sat a-courting, my love fell off to sleep. I had a bottle of burgundy wine, my true love she did not know. So I murdered that dear little girl down on the banks below. I drew a saber through her, it was a bloody night. I threw her into the river to drown, it was an awful sight. My father often told me that money would set me free if I would murder that dear girl whose name was Rose Connolly. Father sits at his cabin door, wiping his tear-dimmed eyes, for his only son shall walk upon the scaffold high. My race is run beneath the sun, the scaffold waiting for me. I did murder that dear girl whose name was Rose Connolly. My race is run beneath the sun, the devil now waiting for me. in the Willow Garden, down by the Sally Gardens. They're all the same story, but just different versions. Just changes a little bit every time a different person sings it. And every time it's preserved on paper, it changes as well. The history of the ballad is deeply intertwined with the tradition of poetry and literature that has been passed down in archives and libraries throughout the British Isles, and also throughout different archives in the United States too, because these ballads were brought over here. So music is really, it's one of the main ways that people have told stories. They're tales that were shared and passed down through generations to entertain and enchant listeners. One ballad I love to play is an old traditional piece, Silver Dagger. The origins of this traditional song can be found in 19th century British Isles, alongside a rich tradition of tragic tales, often known as murder ballads. These tales are of lost loves. Oftentimes the stories end in tragic death by the lovers drowning or by Dagger. So hundreds of years ago, people called ballad mongers or chapmen would distribute these stories and lyrics in the form of broadsides, which were a popular way of spreading news and stories. Broadsides were these sheets of paper printed with words, usually like woodcuts, and then they would have pictures and stories of local heroes and shipwrecks, murders, hangings, and they would also have characters of folklore, like Robin Hood or like Tam Lin, the character from the story that I sang at the beginning of tonight's concert. So stroll into an alehouse way back in like the 1700s, even later too, you would most likely find broadsides pasted to the walls and depicting the woodcuts of lovers, kings, shepherds, like I said, Robin Hood, and then like local tales as well. And these characters will be brought to life through these songs and poems. So with Silver Dagger, it's been a ballad that's been around for a really long time. Countless storytellers have sung it. Dolly Parton did a version on one of her records. The Louvin Brothers, Joan Baez, and the Old Crow Medicine Show. In this tale, a young woman hopes to marry, but is forbidden from doing so by her mother. And I actually really like this song with harmonies, so I thought I would bring on my twin sister, Teresa. Welcome. Here.
Hi.
This is Teresa. She'll be singing Silver Dagger with me.
You want some water?
Sure. Thank you.
We're in the same pod.
True. And I can't thank you guys enough for letting me do this concert, because this is seriously like the first live performance I've done since like COVID happened. I mean, I've been playing some music, but mostly just singing with Teresa, which is great, but this is also really wonderful. So, okay, let me just, I think I have, yeah. Sorry. You know what they say about banjo players and tuning. I'm just kidding.
What do they say?
I don't know.
That they tune a lot.
That it takes a long time to tune banjos. Sometimes. I'm sorry.
I'm used to it.
If she says yes, come back and tell me. If she says no, we'll run away. Oh, Willie dear, there's no use in asking, for she's in her room, taking rest, and by her side lies a silver dagger to slay the one that I love best. Oh, Katie dear, go ask your papa if you could be a bride of mine. If he says yes, come back and tell me. If he says no, we'll run away. Oh, Willie dear, there's no use in asking, for he's in his room, taking rest, and by his side lies a silver dagger to slay the one that I love best. Then he picked up that silver dagger, and he stove it through his troubled heart, saying goodbye, Katie, goodbye, darling. I'll die for the one that I love best. Then she picked up that bloody dagger, and she stove it through her lily white breast, saying goodbye, Mama, goodbye, Papa. I'll die for the one that I love best. Yay, thank you for joining.
Yeah.
And thank you for joining us on this journey through the balladry of the British Isles. The ballad continuously evolves like a poem, but it changes because as it's sung, it changes, and it's just such a cool connection. The two traditions of folk music and poetry and literature and texts, they're threaded together, and it's just such an interesting part of what I found when I've been researching ballads, and I'm really glad that I got to have the opportunity to share these songs and a little bit about them. So thank you so much for joining us. Hope you have a lovely night.
Thank you.